All right, Mara. Mara, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I originally grew up in New Jersey. I was born in Long Branch, New Jersey. Grew up there until I was 18 and then moved out to Long Island and then moved to Brooklyn and spent most of my adult life living in Brooklyn, New York.
What was your family like growing up?
Whew. My parents got divorced when I was very, very young. They both remarried, had new families of their own, so I was kind of ping-ponged back and forth for the most part. So,
How would you describe your childhood in general?
very nurturing from my father. My mother never told me she loved me, never hugged me, married a sociopath, in my opinion. We're completely estranged. We haven't spoken in over 20 years. So just ice cold.
And after you were done with school, did you graduate high school?
I did graduate high school and I have an associate's degree. So
Oh, you do?
yeah.
And what'd you do with your life? Did you work?
I did. I got pregnant very young. I worked. I was a bookkeeper. I've worked in dispensaries down here in Florida. Bookkeeping and administrative assistant was most of my jobs throughout my life when I wasn't in active addiction.
So you were an addict as well?
Absolutely, yes, I was. I am.
You still are? Yes.
I'm recovering.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes, but I am I'm an addict on journeying towards to better myself and raise my level of consciousness.
Yeah. And you had a husband who was walking the same path.
Yes, so I had met my husband Chris. God, we were so young. I was 18, he was 19. He was a few years older than me. We got married. We got pregnant. Had a baby at 20. Big wedding the next year. Had our whole life ahead of us. We met at an NA meeting actually, and he ended up in a car accident. Vicodin took over, and it just was 15 years of turmoil. And he ended up passing away from a heroin overdose November 7th in the year of 2000. So my son was 2 and I was 22.
And then from there, your story gets even more interesting because your son followed in Dad's footsteps?
Yeah. So my son, his name is Carter. He's forever 22. He had 9 months sober from long-term treatment, and he got out, and one day he walked in on his roommate smoking crack. His counselor told him to leave, so he left. He was waiting to get into another sober house, and in the meantime, on September 6th, 2001, he took what he thought was an OxyContin that ended up being pure fentanyl, carfentanil, and methamphetamine. And he was pronounced dead at 12:43 a.m. And he passed 20 years to the day that my husband passed away.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And your life now is centered around what?
My life now is centered, at first it was centered around wanting to die. My life is now defined before and after. It's before Carter and after Carter. And So in the beginning, it was a lot of just these ups and downs and shock. And I mean, I'm still in shock at 16 months. And I started advocating, doing a lot of advocating, mailing out Narcan for free when I got to the place where I was healthy to do so. I'm going to school to become an addiction coach with psychedelic integration. I know from my experience, not only with my addiction and my grief and how much psychedelics have helped me to heal, I know that the possibilities are endless. I've just restored my faith. I started praying every morning and every night to God and my guardian angel. In the beginning, I was praying for God to take me in my sleep. I didn't want to wake up. I just wanted to be with Carter. And the suicidal ideations, like, it's like a ping pong ball at the Olympics, going back and forth inside your brain. Like, okay, well, I can Google Profithanol or whatever it's called and get it mailed here and just give myself a hot shot and be done. And be at peace. But then I have to tell myself, then Carter loses his voice. I'm Carter's voice. I'm Carter's voice. So I need to be healthy and healed so I can move forward in my journey to not only spread awareness and advocate so no other family has to endure this suffering. Every 8 minutes, somebody's dying from fentanyl. And it's flooding there. I mean, xylazine is in the picture now. I mean, it's out of control. Narcan doesn't work on that. I mean, it's us parents that are fighting a fight that our government should be fighting. And we're grieving, and we're still having to fight this fight. And we do so by there's a rally every year in DC that we all go to. We put up billboards. We hold rallies in our own towns. We write letters. I mean, I send a letter every week to the New York State governor and the New York State mayor. Every single week, the same letter. I know I'll never hear back. I don't give a fuck. Her son died from fentanyl poisoning when he was 17. Her nephew died, and she refused to put together a 12-person panel to help study the fentanyl xylazine influx in New York State. She decided that New York State needed a new stadium and there wasn't enough funding. What the fuck? I mean, it blows my mind. So I had this spiritual awakening and I started, when you kind of come out of your grief a little bit and you start to have these, through psychedelics, I've been able to do this, find this connection with Carter and myself and the universe and God and realize we are all one. I'm realizing, I'm picking up on empathic abilities. Carter, I get signs from Carter all the time now. I mean, my room number when I checked in here is 111. It's just, I had this spiritual awakening and a not random podcast, YouTube video came up on my feed. It was called, Is the Devil Real? And I've always believed in the devil and demons, obviously. But I've always struggled with my relationship with God. And, I was like, well, why isn't God answering my prayers? Well, Maura, you're asking him to kill you in your sleep. That's not how God works. And everyone has a different understanding of God. This is just my understanding of God. And so it was just an interview with a priest, an exorcist, and he said, everybody on the universe, every morning and every night, quick prayer to God and your guardian angel. Thank you for this morning. I will live by your will, not mine, blah, blah, blah. Acknowledge your guardian angel. So that night I did it. And then I did it the next morning, and then the next night. And like I felt a shift, like a sense of peace. And then a week later, I went to this music festival and took a combination of psychedelics, and I just was able to absorb all of the love and energy of the music and the lyrics and just be in the moment. And I realized Carter is always with me. He's here. And my job is to let go of my guilt, advocate, finish school. And I found my purpose. My purpose is to help other people heal and grow and learn and continue and move forward in their journey. So as shitty as the cards that were dealt to me are, I wouldn't take back anything. I mean, shit. I would not take back one single fucking thing I ever did. Not one trip to Philly, not one needle stuck in my arm, not one fucking thing. Because if I didn't do any of that, I would not be right here where I am right now. And we're so conditioned from birth to use these words such as never, can't, won't, you know. And trust me, it's a process. I've worked very, very hard on myself through meditation, breath work, ketamine infusion therapy, psilocybin. I mean, I've been able to get off of 9 psychiatric medications. I'm only on 2 now. And this has been going on, I'm 44 years old, and this has been going on since I was around 20. So,
what psychedelics have you used?
So MDMA, ketamine, psilocybin, DMT, ayahuasca, bufo, which is called the toad, and that's about it. But I microdose every day with psilocybin.
Are there certain ones that are more effective than others?
Oh, absolutely. Every psychedelic is used for a different purpose. So ketamine, for example, actually repairs your neurotransmitters in your brain. So MDMA is a heart-opening psychedelic. So if you're struggling with intimacy issues or, you know, relationship issues, even within yourself, I'm not talking boyfriend, girlfriend, just anybody, you know, that would be more geared towards that. Ketamine is a dissociative drug, whereas so you're like just out there and you're expansion of the universe. Ayahuasca is a very, very heavy plant medicine that is like you need a very heavy prep for that. It's a lot of purging. However, that is the one experience that absolutely began my healing journey, was doing the ayahuasca journey. And since then, and psilocybin is really used, I mean, people microdose every day just to keep you elevated. It just elevates you, just keeps you elevated. And if you were to eat, you know, half a 3.5 grams, you would go on a magic mushroom trip. And that's just more about kind of fun and enjoying yourself and vibing out to music. So all psychedelics are geared towards certain things. So I want to make that very clear. Like, they're not something to be mixed with and played with. I mean, they're medicinally used for me.
And as an advocate, what kind of things have you learned, or what kind of things are you sharing and teaching? Because, you know, this fentanyl is a new thing for us.
Oh my God. So, I mean, you have so many varying opinions. You know, some people believe in harm reduction, some people don't. I'm a big believer in harm reduction. There should be Narcan in vending machines. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, a bill was passed, and Narcan is now going to be available in vending machines and over the counter and available everywhere for everyone to have. So that is huge. And people want to call these safe injection sites. They're not safe injection sites. They're overdose prevention centers. So in my mind, you know, the first step is keeping the person who's using alive. That's the main goal, is to keep them living. So if they have a safe place to go and use drugs where there's registered nurses with Narcan, whatever the drug is, if they're shooting meth or they're shooting heroin or they're taking pills, they have a safe place to go. It's medically supervised. So, you know, I'm a big believer in harm reduction. Some people aren't. And billboards, graphics, you know, I'm very active on TikTok, making a lot of videos, just promoting fentanyl and the dangers. I mean, you are literally putting a bullet in a barrel, spinning the barrel, pulling the trigger when you take anything off the street, including marijuana. Kids are dropping dead from vape carts, weed. It's not just cocaine and meth and the hard shit. It's everywhere. It's fucking everywhere. And it's literally 2 grains that fit on the tip of a pencil point. That is how much it can kill you. So,
why is it that drugs are such a huge problem now?
We live in a society that is ignorant to people suffering. I believe that, you know, addiction and, you know, our society is crumbling. Humanity is at its worst. We're at the worst we've ever been. I mean, people use drugs, and I think people continue to use drugs to escape. They escape childhood trauma, adult trauma, pain, depression, physical pain, and once you're in it, you're in it. So, you know, we live in a culture that's very accepting of and stigmatizes, you know, the junkie drug addict when, you know, no, these are sick people that need help. And they need to be approached with grace and compassion and love until they're ready for treatment or not. So that is the main reason why I'm going to school to become an addiction coach. Because it's not pushing rehabs and detoxes. If you're still using, you can still come to me and I will just coach you through it on your different options and availabilities. So I blame it. I mean, our society just puts a stigma on, I mean, not only addiction, grief, anything that is the unspoken. I mean, so, and I'm breaking that stigma by being here. As are you.
Yeah, I think it takes something like what happened to your son and your husband to get you off your ass to be motivated to do something to share this information.
1000%. Before this, I thought I was on a journey. I had no fucking idea. The level of consciousness that I have come to raise just within myself and my ability to listen to my body and know what I need when I need it in order to heal and to prioritize. You know, yes, I had school today, but this was a priority to get the message out and to heal. So, you know, just it's one day at a time, 1 second at a time, whether you're actively using, grieving, whatever it is, life is hard. Like, we live in a harsh, cruel, ugly, mean world. And there's just no more kindness left. There are very few. I don't want to say no more. That's, you know, these forever terminologies, never, can't, won't, you know, removed from my vocabulary, or trying to. But, you know, I mean, the fact that I didn't pick up after losing my son, that to me is a true miracle.
That was my next question.
Never crossed my mind.
Really?
Not once. I'd put a bullet in my head before I'd pick up another drug or a drink. Well, I don't drink, but I would put a bullet in my head. Using has not crossed my mind. I would have to say at least 7 years. And it was not an option. I would kill myself before I took another drug.
What helped you quit?
Methadone. Unfortunately.
And then you wean off that?
Yes, which onto Suboxone.
But are you using anything Suboxone?
So I'm currently on Suboxone still.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So I am on Suboxone. But being on the methadone, I was at 30 milligrams, stuck at 30 milligrams for like 4 years. So I finally made the decision in February. I said, you know what? This is just clouding my mind. And I made this decision, switched to the Suboxone. And it's like my head cleared out. I'm like yawning again. All these changes in my body while I'm going through my grief. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but I know that I have the tools and the strength and the faith that, to get me through.
Are you planning on tapering off of Suboxone?
Absolutely, yeah. No, this is within a year. I'm going to be off of completely.
And clean.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't want to be... being on methadone for so long, it's like it's liquid handcuffs. And it is... methadone was created by Hitler as a weapon of mass destruction. Not many people know that. These methadone clinics, yes, it saved my life. However, I feel like they're very poorly regulated and they push you to keep going up on your methadone because it's all about money. Let's face it, the world runs on money. So, it came to a point for me where I said, I'm done. Enough is enough. I was terrified to make that transition. Withdrawals. Terrified. But I was in such a better place and I had the support. And to be honest, I slept right through it. I don't remember anything. And now I feel amazing. Clear-headed, more focused, more just ability to connect with Carter, the universe, God, my guardian angel, just being at one with spirit. It's just been really since, I hit that 1 year mark in November and everyone said the second year is the hardest. And I kept saying, and everyone kept saying, like drilling that into my head. So I had that oh my God, how in the fuck is the second year harder than the first year? Oh my good God, somebody kill me. And I kept saying in the back of my mind, it's not going to be for me because I'm going to make it different. And that's what I did. It's going to come again. The tsunami's going to come. That's grief. But you know what? Now that I have faith, and I trust in the universe, and I trust in my own ability and my own strength. And I know that there's hope there for all of us, because we are all one. So it's just about spreading love and being kind. And what you put out there is what you get back. So
I think you and I are possibly, kind of doing the same thing, just in different ways. I'm more focused on what causes these problems and maybe what we can do to prevent that, and you're focused more on the front lines of what's happening.
Absolutely.
Right on the street.
Yes. That's what I was so drawn. I've been following you guys forever, and I came to a point during my grief journey where I was like, I have to submit the story because it's so unique compared to most fentanyl poisonings in general, so to say.
What advice would you give to somebody who's got a family member or is going through this themselves?
My advice? make sure that you have Narcan on you at all times. This is 4 milligrams. 4 milligrams, if somebody is overdosed, being poisoned by fentanyl, so they'll start to foam at the mouth. Their eyes will roll back. They'll start to turn blue, just like any other overdose. Just give them the Narcan. I could squirt it up my nose right now and it would have no effect. So it's not going to kill you. It's not going to do any harm. And like I said, they just passed a law. And even if it hasn't been passed in your state, you can go and get it through your pharmacy. You may have to pay for it. But any family member who has an active addict, whether their drug of choice is cocaine, marijuana, it doesn't fucking matter, because fentanyl is in everything. And this will literally give that person enough time until the paramedics get there.
What Narcan is like a shot of adrenaline?
So Narcan is naltrexone, which reverses the effects of a opioid poisoning, of an opioid overdose. So it can be used on heroin, fentanyl. However, it does not work on xylazine. So with xylazine in the drug supply now...
What is xylazine?
Xylazine is a horse tranquilizer that is now being put in the drug supply.
Is that the stuff you see like in Kensington?
Yep, Kensington, Philly. Yep,
Trank.
Absolutely. The zombie drug.
Yep.
Trank. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's made it to California.
Yeah, no, it's really bad up in Manhattan, like northeast area. Kensington, it's like, it's just.
Yeah, there's zombies everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I used to cop in Philly like way back in the day, and it's just like looking at it now, it's like, oh my God, so now that xylazine is in the drug supply, Narcan does not work on xylazine. So that's a fucking problem. And the fentanyl test strips are bullshit, because you have to scrape off a tiny amount of the pill or whatever substance, but it's called the chocolate chip cookie effect. If you look at a chocolate chip cookie, the part that you scraped off may test negative for fentanyl, but there could be 2 grains worth of salt in fentanyl in any other part of the pill. So that part of harm reduction is complete bullshit. But everybody should be carrying Narcan. Using, not using, family member, not family, everybody in America should be carrying Narcan. I've used it. I had to use it on somebody in a parking lot till the paramedics came. So, I mean, it's fucking everywhere. And it's, grieving, going to school, trying to advocate. And, while the government, sits back. Meanwhile, Biden could and I'm not blaming Biden, Obama, Trump, Biden, they're going back hundreds of years. They're all fucking complicit. You know what? Any one of them at any time could put an executive order to declare the terrorists.
Where do you think the fentanyl is coming from?
Oh, so the fentanyl is coming from Mexico. The precursor chemicals to make the fentanyl are coming from China.
Yeah.
But now Mexico is figuring out how to make the precursors themselves, so they're leaning less on China. It's also coming from Canada. So this whole close the southern border, yes, we have to man the southern border, but we would have to build a wall around the entire fucking continent and stop the mail flow if you ever wanted to stop the flow of drugs into our country. So fucking unrealistic. Declare the cartels a terrorist organization, so that will allow American troops to go in and blast down these, labs in the fucking jungle that they're making fentanyl for 5 cents. And shipping thousands and hundreds and thousands of pills and whatever right up San Diego and Arizona. It's just... And then, declare fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. Then the people who are dealing it and selling it and someone dies get harsher penalties. Like, these are steps that the government can take, and they don't. I have no control over the government. None of us do. So, like, I have to let that shit go. And that's why us parents have to fight this fight. And it's fucking bullshit. But we do it because they're our angels. And we don't just do it for our angels. We do it for everybody's angels. And to prevent anybody from having to go through this. It's not just for us. It's for everybody.
Maura, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned from all of this?
Wow, what's the most important lesson I've learned? That if you are not okay and if you can't take care of you first, you are incapable of being there for anybody else. Self-care is absolute priority when it comes to life in general. Grief, addiction, whatever. If you are not okay spiritually, mentally, and I don't mean like, you don't mean perfect. You don't feel grounded. You know, you need to be grounded and just trust and faith. And, you know, that's what's helped me, is to be grounded and just have faith and hope. And just trekking. I just keep trekking. I just keep putting one foot in front of the other. It's what I have to do. So, yeah.
All right. Maura, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark.
Very interesting talk.
Yes. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.